Welcome to the Zen Stoic Path. I'm your host, Victor Pierantoni, and in this episode, we're going to be talking about the Dream the Path goal-setting format. So how is it that we create the life that we desire? How do we do things in a way that actually yields the results of what will truly fulfill us and allow us to live the highest quality of our lives? The answer is goal setting. Now, there are so many different ways of setting goals. And if you look on YouTube, you look anywhere on the internet, you'll find a variety of different ways to actually set goals. And what's important, and that's never talked about, is why we're setting goals in the first place. So goals are not merely just to achieve what you want, but rather the reason why we set goals in the first place is because we set goals for the purpose of becoming more than what we are. Now, the reason why we do that is because growth is the essence of life. And growth being the essence of life, in order to become more than who we are, it is important that our goals are actually able to set us free. So the meta intention behind all goals is not just the things that we're achieving and the things that we want to accomplish, but it is actually to liberate ourselves from the confines of what we currently are so that we can grow and expand into something more than we are in this moment now. And so this method of setting goals is based on years of research, but has been simplified in a way that is memorable and in a way that will actually get you total clarity on exactly what it is you want, why you want it, and how you're going to get there. And so this episode is going to be broken down into two episodes, Dream and Path, both of which are acronyms that are easy to remember and that will allow you to set goals in such a way that it's going to set you free in your life a little more along the path each time that you do this. These will connect you with what your purpose is, align your intentions in a way that is truly fulfilling and meaningful to you, and at some points might be a little confronting, but in an empowering way that will allow you to set yourself free more and more along the path. So let's get into it. So when we think of a goal, one thing that's really important to understand is that you literally change the entire world and your entire life experience the moment that you decide that you want something. The moment that you decide that you have a goal in mind, what's actually happening is you're activating your reticular activating system, which is the part of your brain that looks for sameness and similarity and familiarity in the environment. And so it filters out what's actually important to you. So just by setting a goal, just by deciding on what's important to you, you're actually going to change the way that the world appears to you, because you'll suddenly start noticing different things about the world. And typically you'll notice one of three things or a combination of them. Number one is you'll notice things that will move you along the path of this goal, right? You'll notice good omens. You'll notice things, coincidences, signs, things that really pull you towards the goal. The other thing that you'll notice is probably neutral things, which are not going to be as noticeable, but they're not going to necessarily have a lot of meaning to you. This is good. Neutral things are a good thing. They're not deterring you. Sure, they're not moving you towards it, but this is going to be an aspect of life. Sometimes you'll notice things that actually have no bearing on your goal. And then the last thing that you'll notice is you'll notice obstacles. Now, the obstacles are revealing to you where you're not yet free in yourself, and they'll show up in the forms of people and challenging situations or circumstances that you might experience in your life. So it's important to understand this because by virtue of actually setting the goal, you are changing your entire reality in that moment. And you're going to start to set your reticular activating system to notice things that coincide with that goal. So let's get into the dream format. So this first part of the episode is going to be on the actual vision itself. What is the actual goal? What is the thing that you want? And it's broken down into the acronym DREAM. So the D is for desire from having. So the first thing that we want to do is, upon deciding on the context of our lives in which we want a goal, right? We talked about them in the previous episode on purpose, where we discussed that the 6 major categories of life are career, intimate relationship, family and friends, health and fitness, spirituality, and personal growth and lifestyle. So these 6 categories, these are the 6 contexts. So we would decide on a context, and then we want to desire from having. Now, what that means to desire from having is to actually begin from a place of gratitude. So typically, when desire is talked about in these philosophies or these esoteric schools, when it's talked about in Stoicism or it's talked about in Buddhism, desire is looked at as being something that is linked to suffering. Now, one of the reasons being is because most of the time, people desire from a place of lack. Now, desiring from lack is essentially saying, I don't have this, and putting out the frequency of I don't have this. In other words, having the reticular activating system, or the RAS, look for things that say, I don't have this thing that I want. So that is what it would be to desire from lack. So when we desire from having, essentially what we're doing is we're actually looking at, what am I already grateful for that I have in this area of my life? We want to start from that place. We want to start from a place of gratitude. And the reason being is because we can build on progress. We can build on success. We can build on what we already have and what we already control. We cannot build on failure. We cannot build on struggle. We cannot build on lack, right? We need to find the bricks that already exist and then stack on top of those. So we desire from having to come from a place of gratitude. This will allow you to approach your goals in a completely different way. So that's where we start. That's the D, desire from having. R is to recognize the current reality. Now, it's really important that when you're recognizing the current reality, you are recognizing it as it is objectively, looking at the facts and the circumstances that you are observing in your life. So it's really important to understand that the outside world and the results that we experience, our reality, is just a mirror of what's going on inside. So it's important to recognize, where am I currently at in this area of life? What are my current results? On a scale of 1 to 10, how close are they to the reality that I want? When you recognize the current reality, you're just observing the facts. You're not getting into the story of like, and because I don't have this thing, it means this about me. No. You're simply recognizing where you're at. So if it's a business goal, let's say you're saying we made X amount for the past 6 months, this is where we're at. We've sold this for the past 6 months. This is where we're at. If it's a health goal, it's like, I weigh this right now. I'm able to run this fast, this many miles. Recognize where we're at simply with the objective facts. What we're doing here is we're separating the facts from the way that we feel about them and from the story that we might have been telling ourselves about why we're not having that goal. Now, the next thing that we get into is the E. And that E is to envision the ideal reality, to envision what you actually want to experience. So when we envision the ideal reality, typically, it's very important for us to get very specific about that. We want to do so in a way that is meaningful to us. We want to pick something in terms of an ideal reality that is the actual result that we want to experience. So sometimes what people will write when they're writing, or they're writing their ideal reality, or they're envisioning it, is they'll write something that's not actually a result, but rather a process. So they might write something like, well, my ideal reality is to be going to the gym 5 days a week. It's like, that's not your reality. That's not the result that you want. That's the process. The reality that somebody might want around a fitness goal is maybe a specific body type. Maybe there's a specific way that they want to feel. I want to be able to look in the mirror and be proud of the reflection that I see. I want to feel really confident, feel really courageous, and feel really good. That would be a result versus the process of going to the gym 5 days a week. So in a business, it's not get our numbers to X percentage. Like that could be one reality, but that's not really the result that somebody wants, right? Somebody wants more than that. It's not just about the sales being at a certain percentage, but it's rather about the actual results and the experience. So it's about getting specific. It's like making sure that our numbers are here and we're bringing in this much revenue and we have this much profit at the end of it, and our customers are feeling X. Right? They're talking about us in this way on social media, or they're leaving these kinds of reviews, right? We want to get very specific into that, not just talking about a very bland thing when it comes to our ideal reality. So we want to envision that. Now, the way in which that we would typically write this is you write this in present tense. So the way that I teach my clients and my students how to write this is, it is now X date, and I have successfully, easily, congruently, and healthfully completed this goal of, and then writing the goal, right? So that makes it time bound, that makes it measurable, that makes sure that your intentions are aligned in a way that is going to be most ecological for you, and that your highest good is held into account, right? The last thing that we want to do is have some big dream and then sacrifice all of our well-being to get it. So we want to make sure that that goal is ecological, that it's congruent with us, and that we are serving the highest good of ourselves and those that we care about that are around us. The next one is A. A is to align your intentions. So asking yourself, why is this important to me now? What will this mean for me if I'm able to create this? What becomes possible with this reality? When this reality is here, when it has been actualized, what becomes possible for my life? What do I get to experience? What do I experience more of? What do I get to start experiencing? These are all questions that help us to align our intentions and our reasons for why we're doing it, and making sure that we're coming from an intentional place, that this goal is not a goal because so-and-so on Instagram said so, or because your favorite motivational speaker or influencer said that this is a good idea. It is important to remember that our intentions, when we align our intentions, they are our intentions. They're what's important to us. So this is really key when it comes to setting these goals. And so we want to align those intentions, and then you want to even ask yourself, who do I become in the process of achieving this goal? Or like, who will I become as a result of creating this reality? Now, this question is really important for aligning your intentions, because one of the things that James Clear talked about in the book Atomic Habits is how it is much easier to sustain a habit that is linked to your identity. So for example, if somebody smokes, they might say something like, I'm a smoker. But if they quit smoking, if they stop it entirely, and somebody offers them a cigarette, they'll say, no thanks, I'm not a smoker. So there's actually an identity that is protecting them from engaging in that habit that's draining energy. So instead, we're going to use that in the positive regard. So who do you become? What is the identity that you create? How do you expand yourself, or what do you expand into when you grow beyond the boundaries of who you are today? And this is how we align our intentions. This is how we get the emotional juice flowing, so that we're actually able to have the energy and the fuel to actually pursue that goal and stay consistent on our path. And lastly, for dream, is the M. Now, the M is what is called meaningful milestones. Now, meaningful milestones are essentially, what are the key results that you're going to see along the way? What are the metrics that you're going to be like, when this happens, then I'll know that I'm getting closer. So what is actually going to move you closer to that goal? What's going to tell you that you're getting closer to that reality from the current reality that you wrote in the R section? What are the actual key results that's going to move you in that direction? All right. And we want to come up with maybe our 3 most meaningful milestones along the way. So if it's a business goal, maybe it's by X date where we're going to experience this many people opting into our offer. And then by this date, we're going to experience our first sale on this offer. And then by this date, we're going to have 10 sales. And like, these could be meaningful milestones along somebody's path. So we want to keep this in mind, because the meaningful milestones give us something to look forward to, right? When we try to, especially if the goal is a big one and it's really compelling for you, if we try to take it all in at once, sometimes it can be overwhelming. So what we want to do is chunk it down into digestible objectives for us. So the meaningful milestones are like, what are the little things along the way that are actually going to show you that you're getting closer to where you want to be? So that is the dream format. Now, the dream format is for the actual vision. It is the what and the why of your goal. It's, what do I want? So decide the context, desire from having, recognize your current reality, envision the ideal, align your intentions, and discover the meaningful milestones that will help you get closer to that reality, to that goal, so that you may set yourself free a little more. So in the next episode, we're going to be going into the path. Now, the path is the how. This is where you create the roadmap for this goal. Now, this is really important, because it's not just about knowing what you want and why you want it, but it's having something that can actually hold you accountable, so that you can create a container so that you can stay in integrity with the person that you want to be in order to create this goal. So take this episode, write out your goal in the dream format, and then come to the next episode with that, so that you're able to get the most out of listening to that episode when we go through the path, the how, the roadmap of how you're going to create this reality for yourself.